DBT Spirits go. Here we go.
Hello. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Dope Black Thoughts Live. I'm Kevin Cox.
And I am Marcus Ivy. And we are here today, July 25th, 2020, 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time, 6:30 p.m. East Coast, 3:30 p.m. West Coast. So,
what's new? I just came back from a caravan to Louisville, Kentucky. It was hashtag 1,000 miles for Breonna Taylor, a young black woman that was an EMT. There was a no-knock warrant at her residence while she was sleeping in her bed with her man, and they buzzed the door in, and she got up to protect herself. They shot her dead. I think they shot her 5 times.
5 times.
Yeah, she was shot 5 times, and here's the worst part. Because we believe that the police are here to protect us, those police officers not only shot her 5 times in her own residence while committing no crimes, but they also did not act as first responders, and they let her bleed out and die for 5 minutes.
And on top of that, her boyfriend, who, because he didn't know who was actually in the house, pulled up his legally owned firearm and began to return fire to people who were strangers in their house. These officers had the nerve to book him under a charge, and the district attorney had the nerve to accept the charge and file charges against him before those ridiculous, preposterous, asinine charges were finally dismissed. So here we are. How many months are we out now from that time period in which she was murdered by those 3 officers? 4 or 5 months? I'm sorry, I can't even remember. Sheesh, I'm so distraught by it.
Protesting for like over 50 days.
They've
been at ground zero for a while. Is it 90 days?
She died March 13th, 2020. So March, April, May, June, July. 4 months. 4.5 months at this stage. And so talk to me about that, y'all. DBT was invited. DBT was invited to go to Louisville. Just make sure I get that.
Gotta say it right. Don't say it like me. Don't say Louisville.
Yeah, we got some family and some folks down there in that part of Kentucky as well. So
this is how it went. So it was the entire trip was put together or organized by a friend of the show, Shanika Carter. She's just a powerhouse. She's very politically active. She's been working closely with a lot of elected officials and community activists around Aurora and Metro Denver area. Basically about 2 weeks ago, she was like, you know what? We got to go up there and show unity, show solidarity with the community of Louisville that's protesting the murder of Breonna Taylor because she has not received justice yet. And oddly enough, I just saw their DA, a brother, caping.
I know who you're talking about.
Caping for Donald Trump at the Trump rally.
In fact, he just got engaged. He got engaged to a person, and they were out and about celebrating and just enjoying life. While these 3 individuals, I dare not say police officers in that respect. I think that's almost too respectful. While these 3 individuals are still out there living life freely. What are their names? Their name are Jonathan Mattingly, Brett Hankinson, and Miles Cosgrove. The only reason I would even dare say their names is because they have yet to be arrested. Once they're arrested, then they can go into anonymity in that aspect and get charged, get prosecuted, and go to prison. Quite frankly, for the rest of their life. I mean, that's what we do here in most states. When you kill somebody and you murder them, you usually go to prison for the rest of your life.
Right. I mean, and I just imagine myself, if I were to kick someone's door down and shoot them, and I actually misspoke. I said 5 times. She shot 8 times. That's a lot of bullets. If I were to kick someone's door down and shoot them 8 times, is there any question that I would be in jail until we figured it out? They're gonna lock me up, throw away the key, and then figure it out. So that's where we're at with this 2-tiered justice system. This is just another chronicle of 2-tiered justice systems. There's no justice for Black and brown communities, and being a Black man, this really hitting a lot closer to home. And think about what her duty was in society. She was an EMT.
That's correct.
She was a first responder.
That is correct.
Her job is to show up and make sure that someone that's been shot or injured severely doesn't die. And the people who are sworn to protect and serve and paid by your tax dollars kicked in her door, plain clothed, mind you, wearing no insignias, no anything, plain clothed officers kicked in the door and shot her up. Now, when I was growing up, gangs were doing that. They were thugs.
So, they still are thugs. And so, you know where else there's plain clothes, no real insignia? You know where else that's going on right now? Portland. But anyway, I'm not trying to go to Portland just yet. I just really wanted to just focus on and celebrate, number one, her life. And then number two, the fact that that there was a connection from Aurora, Colorado to Louisville, Kentucky in that aspect. So that we, unfortunately, we share, we have a tragic connection, if you will. You have Breonna Taylor, and then we have Elijah McClain here in Aurora, Colorado. So there is a connection there that is not a happy connection, but it's a connection where you have 3 officers in each situation murdering unarmed, innocent Black people. Murdering.
And I believe 5:30 today, there's going to be a protest or a rally here in Aurora at 5:30 for Elijah McClain, because apparently we have to come out in numbers if we want justice. There's no way for us to just have an injustice committed upon us and the justice system rights us, makes us whole. That doesn't happen here. So if it doesn't happen here, if there's injustice here, there's injustice everywhere. So you would think that 1,000 miles away, things would be different when they're exactly the same.
And so I have to give props and shout outs to, Candace Bailey and really, quite frankly, everyone that's been involved in this whole process. Shanika Carter, just the same, just because at the end of the day, we understand the work that has to be done and the work that still needs to be done. And unfortunately, it's like this is getting worse by the day, simply put. Yeah. So there you have it. There will be a rally here in support of Elijah McClain. I took my kids to the last rally that was here, and we celebrated and had a great time. Actually, there they were a part of history. They were a part of something that they knew to be appropriate, that they knew to be important in our lifetime. And for my kids, I know they didn't want to go in the beginning, but they turned out to really enjoy that process. And it was peaceful, which is what it was about. The rally yesterday, was that peaceful as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was very peaceful. So there's actually a piece in technical difficulties again. I can't screen share it to you, but there was an article done by the local news. Another friend of the show, my woman, Kat Traylor, did an interview with their local news, and we just happened to walk into an establishment and saw her on TV. So Shanika and Kat Traylor are getting a lot of media coverage for this protest, in the fact that we're traveling as far as from Aurora, Colorado to Louisville, Kentucky, and being willing to make that journey to make sure that we're all on the same level playing field. Any one of us commits a crime, any one of us has something that happens to us, we are punished or taken care of as such.
Well, let's see if we can put up some of that, because actually, I think we may actually have that here. Colorado supporters, quite frankly. So, let me share this with you all here. Can you screen share that?
Let me see. I want to pull this up so y'all can see what was going on out there. I mean, there was a lot of peaceful protests. There was a very low police presence at that time, but they were boarding up windows. They were getting ready to do something, and I heard reports that they've already seen federal troops.
Well, and in this respect, I think actually right here on the front page, we got Candace Bailey right there on the front page of this protest from Colorado. 1,000 miles for Breonna Taylor, made it down there. Kat Traylor, like you said, Kev, was also during that interview as well. Unfortunately, we don't have all the sounds, but here it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we were out in force in Colorado. DBT was there, and we were reporting live. It was hot, apparently.
Yeah.
We
I
were
was behind the
reporting
camera,
live.
so they didn't really get a chance to see me. We'll leave a link in the description. Anybody that's watching, if you have it, feel free to post it in the description, or we'll post it in the comments. I mean, and we'll get more details and information out about that. But so we were very kindly received by the Kentucky Alliance. They received us. They helped us. They guided us around town. We were met by Pastor Smith, who's, I believe, is the executive director for the university right there. I can't remember which exact university, so I don't want to name one. But Pastor Smith knows those people that are at ground zero. Oh man, I have some pictures on. I should have just, man.
So, but we're gonna post them up
Yeah,
on
we're gonna post
our
some
site as well. We're gonna post them up on YouTube, Instagram.
At ground zero,
so
there's like a roundabout, almost like a park area, some trees. So what we did was we had violinists come up there, and the violinist was kind of an homage to Elijah McClain because he played the violin. But we had them playing electric violins for the Breonna Taylor rally, and it was beautiful. When you see that many people coming together peacefully, and nobody was angry, we're looking for justice, but there actually were angry people. Let me take that back. And there's nothing wrong with people being angry about this. I did take a microphone. I didn't get in front of a camera, but I did take a microphone at one point, a bullhorn, and I was addressing the naysayers and the people that have a counterpoint. Well, all this protesting ain't gonna do nothing. So the reason why the protesting wouldn't do anything in your mind is because there's not enough people protesting. So when you're saying, why are you guys out there doing all that? The real question is, why weren't you with us? The real question is, how come there was only a few hundred people up there that night? Why wasn't it several thousand? Why wasn't it 10,000? How come the whole city of Louisville, Kentucky didn't show up and say, if these murderers aren't off of our streets, we're less safe?
And I'm sorry, I'm over here smiling just because. So you had that rally yesterday, and then today's rally in Louisville involves the NFAC, which stands for Not Effing Around Coalition. That's really what they're called. It is, if you listen to all the other mainstream media and folks, they call it the leader of an armed militia group. And they make it sound as if it's a negative, but as you all know, all of our Second Rights Amendment folks who are, high on the hog in the sense of, hey, government's not going to impede upon us. Well, it's the same type of militia group, except this happens to be Black folks who are fully armed.
Share that for me.
and everything else in that aspect. So let me just show you a picture of that so you can kind of get a feel for what we're talking about. But they're there today, so just a little bit different. But they're there for the same purpose. They are there for justice for Breonna, just the same. As you can see, there was more of a police presence now, because you got Black armed folks there exercising their Second Amendment rights as well. Don't get it twisted. We had a show about this about a month ago where we talked about Black folks and the Second Amendment rights and us owning guns. But it's interesting. It's funny how you get folks who will start to complain about Black folks having guns, yet at the end of the day, when they have guns, they think, well, hey, we got our guns and you're trying to take our guns. But if Black folks got guns, now you're saying we shouldn't have guns. I've heard it. I've heard it all before.
I wonder where the NRA sits with the NFAC showing up.
They're silent.
I wonder if the NRA is busting out of their seams to come and protect the Second Amendment rights of these minorities. Just say, hey, look, when I'm a majority, I can do it. This is my constitutional right. I don't want to let big government step all over my constitutional rights. This is what the country was made of.
Well, that's the hypocrisy. So when it benefits them, then it's like, hey, we don't want the government stepping on our feet. But when it's someone else exercising the exact same rights, it's like, we don't want you doing it.
Hey, calm down. Why are you guys so angry? Because someone committed murder as a representative of our government. But it was still murder. When someone works for you and they committed murder on the clock and you paid them and you did not arrest them and treat them as if they're a murderer, you're being complicit with that act.
And so you have a lot of these protests, which are quite frankly are peaceful. And let me note that they're peaceful. But you got those folks who only want to show you the negative pieces or the perceived negative pieces of these things. Right now, as you know, in Colorado, we had passed Senate Bill 20-217, which erased qualified immunity for police officers. But yet, what did we have? We had a city. I wouldn't even call it a city, a town within the state of Colorado called Greenwood Village. And Greenwood Village basically said, we are going to defend those police officers, no matter whether they acted in good faith or bad faith. And I take that to mean no matter whether they murdered in cold blood or justifiably shot a person, they're going to just protect them just regardless. And I have a problem with that, as we all should. So there was a peaceful rally that went to Greenwood Village in that aspect. But here's another aspect. You have artists now also saying that they themselves are not going to support Fiddler's Green. Fiddler's Green, which is right in Greenwood Village, is a major music venue. And you had artists, all backgrounds, say, we're not going there to protect that. Now, just to let you in on a little something, our family actually built a hotel over there as the Wingate Inn. We built it years ago. We sold it. But they're going to lose business just the same. But guess what? They're not happy about it either. They're not happy because of the city's stance. And let's be honest, the city stance is ignorant. It's defiant of law. But yet you have all these folks saying that we're all about law and order. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about a law that passed, that was bipartisan supported, and you don't want to support it now, what happened to law and order? As Abby Winter said, crickets. I'm using that for that as well. Crickets. They all quiet. What do we do about this?
I don't know. I have Republican friends that say they like Donald Trump because he's a law and order president.
Well, we just passed the law.
Here's what I'm hoping, Marcus. I'm hoping our president is going to send in some federal troops to bring justice for Breonna Taylor. Let's just see what the federal troops come into Louisville to do. Are they going to come and right these wrongs?
That's the question. Are they? Will they? No. They're here to serve purposes of other purposes that actually have nothing to do with law and order or justice. Quite frankly, they're sick of the unrest. Well, how do you cure unrest? You cure unrest by giving people a seat at the table and giving them an opportunity to voice what their concerns and their problems are. And I said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. What did somebody say? They said, you're lucky that Black folks are not out for revenge. They're out for equality. And that's what it's about. It's about equality. But yet people want to still B&M about it. B&M stands for itch with the B in the front and moan. You know what that means, right? Okay.
Right.
It's just a family show, so I'm just trying to be just family oriented.
Welcome to DBT.
And so that's what they want to do. They want to B&M about it, and then at the end of the day, they don't want to do anything about it. They just want to complain about it. So there you have it. On that soapbox, off that soapbox. Before we move on, what else? Because you know where we're going next.
Yeah, I do. So I'll give you the really smooth transition. We're all still doing all the things in our normal lives. All of our responsibilities are still sitting here. Black people are tired. We are so tired of hearing about someone else that looks like us or one of our relatives or friends or family members and having to think about their untimely death and no justice coming for them. I personally had to break away from that peaceful rally, that peaceful protest, and go back to the hotel and attend our school board meeting. Mm-hmm. In that school board meeting, we're talking about how we're going to handle a global pandemic with 40,000 children. Why on earth am I over here having to protest 1,000 miles away from my home for a woman that was murdered behind closed doors with her doors locked and got shot trying to protect herself? Why is she having to scream, who is it? And then they kick the door in and shoot her. What's going on here? It's a little bit ridiculous. I mean, at some point in time, you know, I want to do the kumbaya thing. I try to be Mr. Nice Guy. I'm on a school board. I try to be as palatable as possible, but nothing is less palatable than murder. So, you know, there goes the whole mood of the show.
So, as you heard, Kevin had to transition so that we could have a board meeting. And we had a board meeting yesterday, a special board meeting.
Yeah, no pressure or anything. Had to go preside over a COVID response or / re-entry board meeting for our students. And, you know, I want to give you some accolades, Marcus, because you led that conversation.
My big drink. Sorry.
And no, go right ahead. It's hot in the studio. We're working on it. So, so you actually kind of not broke the silence, but you kind of took a little bit of a lead in that conversation with more of a plan for how we can re-enter these schools instead of just questions about the plan that is already existing that we were no longer comfortable with. Because we made a plan for re-entering in a cohort model, meaning the students have a limited amount of exposure to other students and a limited amount of exposure to teachers. So we try to mitigate that risk for the teachers and try to be nimble enough that if there is an outbreak, if there is some sort of symptoms that pop up, we can go ahead and quarantine that class and we can quarantine that teacher, and they can all just switch immediately to remote. But what we ended up doing was what Marcus suggested. Talk about what you were bringing up.
Well, yeah. So we had a meeting on Monday where we basically were getting information on what are the next steps for reentry. At the end of the day, reentry for our students was August 18th, and I believe August 24th as well. I don't have the dates in front of me. You got to forgive me. There's so much going through our minds. And the plan was to, quite frankly, send every student back to school day one, immediately, in various cohort models. And what is a cohort? A cohort is where we have a group of students who will be together all day, every day when they're in school. Now, depending on what level of grade, let's take high school, for instance. High school, which is probably our most at-risk population in terms of children, from elementary on up, high schoolers probably have a little bit higher risk rate. But the goal was to send them back in school in classrooms of 25 to 30 students and social distance, not at 6 feet, but at 3 feet with mask all day for 3 hours to 3.5 hours. And quite frankly, I want y'all to understand the district actually did a great job of putting together the cohort model, putting together a hybrid model, but also putting together the remote learning model as well. And they did a good job. But I think it was my opinion. And some people say, well, you got a lot of pressure. No, not at all. I absolutely wanted to hear all the thoughts and opinions. And I heard both sides of it. I was presented with studies. I was presented with petitions. I was presented with form letters that we should be sending, although those form letters were inaccurate. There was a form letter that said that we should send our students back to school because we flattened the curve and the cases are going down. But as far as I know, that's not true.
That's not accurate. There's been an uptick.
That's not accurate. And we're actually considered in the, I think it's called the red. We're in the high section. We're in the red zone of things here.
We're not in moderate caseload. We're in high
caseload. So basically, I just made a suggestion just for myself. And so what people need to understand that I was speaking not only as a school board member, but I was speaking as a father of 2 children. Currently, I have 3. One graduated last year, but 2 children who are currently in high school and who are starting high school. My daughter is starting her senior year in high school, and my youngest is starting his freshman year in high school. So I was speaking also as a parent, but also speaking as a spouse to a teacher who's taught in the district for probably over a decade. So I was speaking from that perspective, what would they want to do, but also asked my kids what they wanted to do. My daughter is a senior. She wanted to go back to school. She wants to go in school, but what did she say to me? She said that she was concerned about exposure. I'm paraphrasing, but she said she was concerned about exposure, potentially getting sick, but she wanted to be able to go into the halls of her school on day one. And that breaks my heart because she doesn't get to do that. And so some people think we are heartless because we're saying we're sending people or students to be at home when that couldn't be further from the truth. We're sending them to a place of safety. So people say, well, maybe you have the luxury to not work. No, I don't. I still got to work. You got to work too. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm more so concerned about the safety and health of our students. So I had suggested to the school board and to the administration that we start off in a remote capacity, 100% remote, but start monitoring, and hopefully we'll start to transition to a hybrid, or maybe from hybrid to a cohort model if we can, to be back in school in person, because we know at the end of the day, everybody wants to be back in school. Teachers, staff, and especially our students. But
and even your wife, being an educator, she knows that it's better to actually educate a child face to face. She
Right.
knows that. She wouldn't have made a career out of being an educator if she didn't want to, you know, give this education directly to children. She didn't have a dream when she was going to college for all this. She didn't have a dream of getting in front of a computer and looking at 30 faces. That's not what she wanted to do. And she also knows that that's less effective, right? We know that this is a train wreck for education. That's what we all know in the education community. I'm sure you all know that you wouldn't go and take any class that you took seriously online as your first choice. But like, you know what? I want to become a biologist. So man, I can't wait to log in. No, you want to talk to that professor. You want to be in front of them. You want to get things broken down. You want to be able to see their face and pull their body language.
You want to talk to other students in your class. I get it.
You need all of that. But safety comes before education. That's the main thing. I can't say, let me take control or let me take care of your child, and I can't keep your child safe. And how many cases is acceptable? For me, 0.
And when we say cases acceptable, not only do we mean cases of getting sick, but we also mean potential death. Now, some people will say, oh, you're over exaggerating. Kids don't die. Well, that's not true. They do, and they have. But kids can also pass it along. They can take it home and they can pass it to others. So at the end of the day, people say, well, we should have the freedom to make the decision. And you're taking away our freedom. But you should, yeah, I agree.
You do, because you can always opt out when we go back in person, and you can also elect different board members. You can choose different schools. You can hire a teacher. You can do all sorts of things. You can stay home and educate them yourself personally. All of these things are suboptimal. We want an entire public school system to work at full capacity. That's what we want. We can't leave everybody out of it. Now, I heard some, not threats, but really reality checks that some of our more privileged, let's just say it, rich folks in our district are going to take their kids, take 10, 15 of them, make a classroom out of them, hire up a teacher, pay him double what he was making at the school, and have a private tutor, and probably get a head and shoulders better education, because it's one-on-one, and they need more reinforcement of what they're trying to learn. They can get that from the teacher. Just pull over here for 20 minutes, one-on-one, just get that, right? What if you do that? You know what? I got to think about 40,000.
Exactly. 40,000. That's a big difference.
Big difference.
Our focus has to be at the greater good. And so teachers are frontline. Now, I don't care what you call it. The teachers are there. They're working. They're teaching. So they are on frontline. And at the end of the day, we can't control what our students do when they leave schools, but we can't control what anyone does when they leave the school grounds and when they come back on and come back together. If someone's sick, asymptomatic, they pass it on.
It was a big problem. It required parents to do screening on their child before they come to school. We know the I've said this so many times in an education format. We don't get parental engagement in education because of the economic situation in Aurora already. We have one of the highest costs of living versus a low average income. So when people have to work 2, 3, 4 jobs, however many jobs they got to work, they can't screen their kids before they go. They might be at work still from the night before.
Right.
And what if the kid picked up a fever after mom left for a 12-hour shift waiting tables? After dad went off to go drive a truck? After grandma who's taking care of them went off to go get her dialysis treatment? You don't know what's going on in these people's lives. And I'm not saying it's impossible or it's too much to ask, or that it was a bad idea to say that this is a partial requirement, because on the average family, this can be done. I don't trust that it will be that effective. That's what I'm saying. There's going to be outliers. It's going to be inequitable. There's going to be people that can't keep up with that requirement. And what does that mean? Possible death for some other unsuspecting students. And teachers.
So I love APS school district. I love the district. I love the board. I love our teachers and I love our students. And that's not a cliche. That's just not something I'm supposed to say. I believe that. My children are a product of APS, nothing else. They're a product of the public school system and APS, from kindergarten all the way through. And so I have faith and trust and belief in what it is that we're doing as a board. Our priority number one, unfortunately, is not the job of the parent. Its priority one is the safety of our students Priority 2 is the safety of our teachers and staff.
Yep.
And then priority 3 is the safety of our parents who are at home, who have to come and receive their children. And if people can't see that, then I don't know what else to tell you at the end of the day. Douglas County has had an all-day meeting. I don't know what their decisions were. I think they were looking at us, but I truly believe that APS made the right decision and we took the lead in the right direction. We're doing what we need to do, and we're constantly monitoring. We have a very capable staff that's able to do this and to get us what we need. We also understand that the other half of the folks are not happy with the decision that was made. But I ask you to think beyond yourself.
Please.
Think about what others who are there, who have to be there, the custodians, the principals, the AP, the deans, the teacher partners, as well as the teachers, the paras. Think about all of those folks who have to go there. Now, sure, we had some teachers that said, "Hey, I'm ready to go full. I'm ready to be there," and I respect that, and I heard that opinion. I heard from other PRAS board members as well, their thoughts and opinions on it. I reviewed things. Somebody sent me the CDC, said they came back and changed, but that's a different story. That's political. CDC changed their opinion because someone who doesn't happen to have an MD or any type of PhD behind their name says change things.
The CDC changed their story about masks when number 45 started putting pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we had vendors in America that were selling hundreds of millions of masks per day to other countries when we were having a nationwide shortage.
Yep.
There's a Forbes article. I believe I posted it somewhere. I hope I posted on Dope Black Thoughts. If not, I sent it to my friends. But check out Forbes.com. You can find information about that. A reporter actually spent a day with a mask broker as he sold 280 million. Is it 80 million? No, it's 280,000 masks a day. Millions a lot, right? It's quite a bit.
Eesh.
But yeah, 280,000 masks a day. So check that out. We have everything we need. The testing is available. We're not giving the resources. The testing is available if we were to prioritize it like that. Here's the issue. We're not bringing any federal funding in at the levels that are required to do this. We need a robust testing regime. There should be 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many, just drive-throughs in our city. We have 350,000+ people in Aurora.
Oh, but haven't you heard? We shouldn't be doing all this testing.
Oh, really?
That doesn't do us any good.
Yeah, the more testing you do, the more cases you get. Isn't that crazy?
Well, isn't that funny? Maybe they. I can't even respond because it's so comical in that respect.
So that's to a relative that has diabetes. The more you test, the higher your blood sugar gets.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the comments. I'm gonna steal your thunder. Abby Winter said that well, these are my school board directors. Thank you.
Yes.
And we definitely appreciate that. It's good to hear some of those things, the positive things, because we hear a lot of negative things about what we're not doing. So I appreciate that. Jordana Riley said, "You spoke for so many of us, and our voices felt heard because of you." Thank you. We say thank you to you all because we needed to hear. We wanted to hear all sides. We wanted to hear all opinions, and we needed to hear it. We wanted to make a decision based upon science and facts and not feelings. Somebody told me, "Well, you need to send them back to school and stop making a decision based upon feelings." And I'm like, what feelings do you think we're using?
I know, right?
We're looking at facts, we're looking at tests, we're looking at studies, we're looking at numbers, and we're looking at, do we have the capability to actually go into a cohort model? First of all, is cohort an appropriate model? Is it appropriate to have 30 students in a classroom for 3.5 hours with one subject for 20 straight days? I would fight against that. Well, I did fight against that. I don't think that was appropriate. I think that's way too many. And so people say, well, you're basing it on emotion. No, I'm basing it on facts. Do we have the capability to properly social distance? So here's the thing. I don't know. Most people probably didn't know. Social distancing, six feet apart.
Right.
But new guidance that has come out says that you can be 3 feet apart if you wear a mask. Now, it used to be 6 feet apart with a mask, but now it's 3 feet apart in a mask with students crunched into a room. Come on.
In I believe the district guidelines due to that new response was work towards 6 feet.
Work. That's right. It did. It said work toward 6 feet.
Hey, I'm working towards $1 million right now, Marcus.
Hey,
I ain't got it yet.
yeah.
So
So, Tom, sorry. I don't want to ever disparage the thinking behind it, but
and then it's sorry, not sorry. Because bottom line is we were elected to make these hard decisions.
Mhm.
I don't think anybody that's saying all this really wants to come to the table and sit down and have their name attached to this decision. This is a hard thing to stand for when you're saying you're going to put someone else's child at risk. If we were talking about, it's stormy and flooding and we're going to send the kids out there walking somewhere. And, if they do get washed away, they'll probably survive. Our kids can swim. Right. And we have adults. We can call ambulances and it should work out. If someone dies, it's only going to be one or two. And if someone washed away, we'll retrieve them. I would never say that. If there was a huge blizzard, I'm not going to send my kids out to the mountains. They're not going on that field trip to Vail when there's been an avalanche. It's a chain law out there. It's all icy. People are flying off that mountain every day, literally every day. I'm not going to send my kids out there. They'll probably be okay. Call the fire department. Call Vail up. They're out there in a second. Department of Transportation's all over that place. Maybe one or two. No, zero. I'm not sending them. So, hey, maybe I'm a little bit more paranoid. Maybe that feeling was paranoia, or maybe it was there are outliers and something can happen. When I said I wanted to be on the school board, I didn't say I want to be on the school board and possibly kill your child.
And here's the thing.
Or you. Or you. By the way, so let's say the students do get it, and like the president says, it's the sniffles and they get fine, but they killed their grandmother and they know they did.
The ability to sleep at night with that on your conscience, I think the school board members spend a lot of time thinking about that as well. Because all it takes is one. It just takes one.
Just one. And imagine if we only lost one student, we would never forget the name of that student for the rest of our lives. That might drive us to fall down the road of addiction, try to find our, kill our sorrows at the bottom of a bottle. We may make different life decisions. We may never want to run for another office when we could have been a bigger service to the community sometime in the future. And that could stop everything. That could change everything. Lives change when children pass away. And the last thing, and then what's that going to do to the family? And another thing is we're not just servicing these students. We're servicing the family as well. When COVID popped off, we served 1 million meals.
Over 1 million. And that was the very first question that we asked when this was happening. We said, was it me? It was one of us that said it. Said something to the effect of, what are we doing for those families who depend upon us for meals, those students who depend upon us for meals? Part of the argument I've heard about returning to school is that students depend upon those foods and those sustenances, if you will, in order to survive. Well, we knew that ahead of time, which is why when this process started, we sought to serve over 1 million meals and continue to do it. And we'll continue to do it.
And shouts out to APS Foundation for putting those meals out there. They organized and they mobilized and they got that done. I pull up to the mall in Aurora and there's a big commercial truck like one I used to drive sometimes, and they're just dropping off meals on meals. So this is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to keep the entire community in mind. But let's go to the other side. We're supposed to be spending our time, effort, and energy educating children.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that balance are we going to take away from the actual education? What if we can get a full 100% of our achievement and our growth and our graduation rate, potential, if we were to just bring them back in? Could we accept the amount of destruction that would be wrought upon some of the students for all of that achievement? No. It's always at what cost? We're always doing a balancing act.
And also, don't forget, for our students who do have special needs, shout out to Director Vicki Reinhardt on that.
Yes.
I'm glad she brought that up. She's always thinking for our most vulnerable students. She talked about we do need to at least have that school open to serve those students who have those highest needs.
Yep.
And that will be done in a safe manner, in a safe way. It won't be done in a group of 30, but we want to make sure we take care of our special needs students just the same, because unfortunately, they're the ones that's always left behind as well. And so that's always been important to this board, and it will continue to be important to this board as well.
Keep in mind, if you have to change a student's diaper, you ain't social distancing. So these people are putting their lives on the line. They are front line. These people are heroes, and we need to remember that they're not just getting paid a bunch of money. That was some hooey that I heard. That it's just a union in a political movement. I don't believe that. Those are teachers that are up here getting disrespected by some students, getting disrespected by some parents, getting their feet pulled out getting the rug pulled out from under them when we as a board change a curriculum or we change a learning style or we bring in a new plan. Every time we make changes, these teachers have to adapt. And all the while, let's say we didn't change anything, they're still in constant professional development, meaning these teachers are going to school all the time. They just go to one of our APS buildings and we're teaching them more about how to teach. So it's a constant learning. They're students too.
And people forget. And so I've had some parents come to me and say, well, you're not looking out for us as parents. I had a lot of APS teachers who are parents who have children within APS.
Yep.
They struggle with that just the same. And they want their kids in school too, but they also understand at the end of the day, health and safety is priority one.
And this is the bottom line. We have a bunch of highly intelligent, well-paid, well-treated employees. Our leadership team can knock this out of the park. I believe in them. We put the task in front of them. They can accomplish this. We can restart schools safely. There's a way we can do it. Just not necessarily right now. It wouldn't necessarily be the most responsible thing. What we're doing is we're adjusting. What we really were doing as a society was adjusting and pivoting to the political pressure being put upon the CDC
right.
and being put upon all the health agencies because we're not receiving those federal dollars. We're not receiving that assistance from the top down. The problem is we're doing too much bottom up, and it puts us into predicaments where we have to make really hard decisions. We have to do that in the district when we have a budget shortfall. We have the BS factor. This is a real thing. It's the budget stabilization factor because due to our per pupil funding formula, we're supposed to receive X amount of dollars every school year to educate our students. Mm-hmm. On average, we're about what? $30 million short every year?
Well, our per pupil amounts have been going down consistently every year, which is why I always give those other numbers. We're spending $40,000 per inmate per year in the Department of Corrections. $40,000 is what we spend per inmate per year. We spend roughly $8,700, close to $9,000 per student per year in our schools. You see the disparaging numbers and the difference between the numbers. We need to probably flip those numbers, quite frankly. And that starts with education.
You would spend that much money to lock a human being away.
Yeah,
and not rebuild their lives either.
Oh, no.
We're talking about where 60% of the people that are locked up here haven't even been to trial, aren't convicted. If they have been to trial, they aren't convicted yet.
That's correct.
It's not even a plurality. It's the majority.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous. That's not justice. And then social justice. You're spending so much more on locking people up that aren't convicted yet. By the way, #freedom, #land of the free, America, and then you won't even spend that much money on your students. Imagine if we spent that much money on students.
Imagine we spent that much money on students in schools. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to hear about teachers making all this money. And so since they're teaching from home, they shouldn't be making the same amount of money. I implore you, I ask you, go watch a teacher teach remotely. It is actually far more difficult. It is far more difficult. I watched my wife do it at the end of the year, and I was impressed. The difficulty the difficulty of the job. Now you're through a screen. So it's actually more difficult. It's more challenging. If anything, you shouldn't lower the payment at that stage. Yeah. It is a difficult task. It's a difficult thing to do. So before you run your mouth, why don't you try to walk in those shoes before that point in time? That's really all I got to say about this.
Yeah. Let's bring it back to the city and to this Elijah McClain protest / rally going on. City of Aurora, putting you on notice. We don't need you busting up a peaceful protest with not tear gas, pepper spray and smoke bombs. We don't need you busting up peaceful protests like that. That's how violence happens. If they're being peaceful, let it happen. We're talking to you, Mayor Kaufman. If you'd like to come and talk to us about it, you can come in studio or appear virtually.
Love to see you.
Feel free. I think between us, about 50, 60,000 people voted us into office. We represent a large part of the community. Our voices are relatively important. I think you could sit down with us and have a chat about that. Who is the city councilwoman of Ward 3? Marsha Berzins, also invited to the show. Come
on down.
If you want your legacy to stay high in the opinion of your constituents, I suggest that you do as much as possible to allow the pressure relief valve of peaceful protest. That's what keeps things from going awry. If you look in Denver, when people were peacefully protesting, I've seen high definition digital footage of it where people are peacefully protesting and being shot by rubber bullets. Then stuff started getting broken. Things start catching fire. All of a sudden I see cars alight. That is not the way to go about it. We were doing so much better here in Aurora before that one incident. That one incident, the only thing that changed was the city's response. Now, I know a lot of good people that are doing good work up there at City of Aurora. Claudine McDonald. Let's talk about some of our friendly city council members. Juan Marcano, Nicole Johnston, Allison Hills,
Crystal Murillo.
Who else we got up there?
Angela Lawson.
Angela Lawson, Deputy City Manager, Mr. Batchelor. We have a lot of hardworking people that are doing a lot of good work. Listen to them. We made our city a weak mayor system for a reason, right? Because we want more community in these decisions that are being made. Listen to us. If you don't listen to the community, things go wrong.
So with that, as you see, kind of shortening the format of our show, starting a little bit later, but we got some new things coming out. As you see, the studio is starting to come along. I can't pick up the camera, but starting to come along as well. So we got a couple more things coming out, popping off soon as well. As always, we love your support. Patreon.com/dopeblackthoughts. Definitely would love your support in that aspect. Some other things we're doing. We got some other things coming up as well that we'll be doing.
So one of the things we're going to be doing is offering exclusive content for our Patreon subscribers. So join that club now. Go ahead and make yourself a regular donor on patreon.com/dopeblackthoughts. Get on there, just make yourself a recurring monthly donor. That's the best way to do it. That way we can create a budget and we have stability and predictability, and we can continue to increase the content that you know and love. Also, please share, like, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, Instagram. Just follow all the content. We're working on it. We're building this foundation more broad so that once it takes off, it's going to be much more of a structure.
And as always, we're looking for quality talent, folks with that background that has that desire to be involved in multimedia functions. We're looking for you. Come on down.
Yeah, come on down. And we're going to be reaching back out. We have a few requests for volunteers. We've been focusing so hard on getting this space open, up and running, that we haven't had a chance to engage with many of our volunteers that have offered up their services. And we're going to be circling back around. So get ready for that. There's not competition. We're just looking for good, strong help.
That's it.
We need it. And the community needs it. That's another thing, is we're bringing a voice to the Black community that has been lost for a while. There's not very much Black media. This is a chance to get in here and put your money where your mouth is. Absolutely. You're saying you want to support communities of color. You're saying you want peaceful protests. You're saying you want us to just use our words. Don't go wrong with it. This is how you do it. You want to live your values, support a Black-owned business. Go to patreon.com/dopeblackthoughts. We also have a Cash App. And with that, Dope Black Thought for the day. Patreon.com/dopeblackthoughts. And with that, we're going to say peace. DBT out.